everybody. And I walked 8 miles already this morning door knocking, so 9 to 10:30. Yep. So anyway, so a little bit about me quick. Yeah, started in 2012. I was drowning in the restaurant business, hated my life, had a bunch of kids, completely broke, wasn't about to leave me. Like, was pouring wine to this couple one night, basically telling them how much I hated my life. And it was I was the team leader of Keller Williams' office. And he's like, "Dan, get your real estate license." So I was like, well, nothing else was going for me, so all right. So got that class through the classes in like 3 weeks, and was like, all right, I rent a house. I know nothing about owning a home, never did it, never did anything. He's like, why don't you try door knocking? I was like, I'm not doing anything else today. Like, so all right. So basically what I started doing was basically just got a $300 printer from Best Buy and a bunch of paper and just started making these little market reports about whether it's the school district, the local neighborhood, all the way out to the county, to anything I could, just getting information that I could go to a door with and just say hello to. So printed out 150 of them and walked out my front door and went to the right, and I was did that for 2 hours and came back. I was like, all right, I still don't have anything to do, so I printed another 150 and went left, and then did the same thing. And so that took about a week to do, and my claim to fame was within 8 weeks I had 7 listings and 3 buyers under contracts in my first in the business. So everyone was like, whoa, how are you doing this? So I'm like, well, I read the red book and just started talking to as many people as I possibly could. So ended up selling 38 houses my first year in the business. That was May to December, and ever since then that's just been keep going. I mean, in 2020, I think, well, I'm not trying to brag, but I think it was 123 units, 32 million or something like that, and that was just me, my wife, and a buyer's agent. My wife does all the admin work behind the scenes type of stuff. So, but yeah, so I mean, I still run a small team right now. I just have like a showing agent model going on right now, and we're about to close about 20 million or so this year, and that's just me and my wife basically paying out a buyer's agent every now and then. But all that is stemming from, I mean, I still, like, that farm when I first started was around 300 houses, and now I'm touching like 2,000 people a month. Just every single month, same exact people over and over and over and over again. So, like this morning, now I'm going to the door, all the political signs in the yard, and as I'm coming up to a house, they're like, "We don't want any." I'm like, "I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm just a realtor." So they let the guard down, and that gets me to the front door, and I just basically let them know. I said, "Hey, here, I'm just giving out a market report on kind of what's sold in your neighborhood so far this year. When are you moving?" And I shut up and let them answer. They usually say I'm gonna die here, or they tell you the truth. And if they say they're gonna die here, I'm like, all right, I'll be watching the obituaries. Because I mean, farming and door knocking is it's a long game. You're not playing a short game here. Every once in a while, you're gonna pick someone off that's like, oh my, yeah, I'm selling in 3 months. Like that is a lot. I mean, right now, I know I have about 24 listings in my farm going up next year. So that's a pipeline that I know. I mean, that's 24 sold, and half of those people are gonna buy again. So that's 40 sold for me already next year that I don't even need to worry about. So that's kind of like, that makes me feel, that gets me to sleep at night, because again, I mean, real estate, we're only as good as our last closing, and that's it. So, but yeah, how farming for me, a couple things. I mean, I got a ton of fails, a lot of funny stories, a lot of horrible stories. I cry myself to sleep a lot. It's not easy. But I've taught this class probably 150 times, from Horsham, Philly, to Pocono, to here now, and it's like, it's all about consistency. You could stand outside a Wawa for 2 hours a day and just say, "Hello, my name's Dan Witt, I'm with Keller Williams Real Estate. When are you looking to buy or sell?" I mean, if you do that consistently for 2 hours every single day, you're going to close 50 houses a year. If you just do that, I'm just doing this consistently, and that's what I've chosen. If you hit the phone for 2 hours a day, you're going to have business. You can go walk around the mall. If you just do whatever you decide to do, just do it consistently. That's my message. But door knocking for me was just something, I love doing open houses. I love, just because I'm good face to face. I hate the phone, I dread the phone, I still don't like the phone. For whatever story I like to tell myself, it's just it's too salesy, whatever story goes on in my head, that's what I say. But for me, open houses and door knocking is where I get the most business. I mean, now my farms, I know everyone in my 3,000 houses. I know when they're gonna move, if they're gonna move. when they're never gonna move. Now I'm teaching my my farms to give me referrals. Their sister that's moving from New York, their brother that's coming in from wherever, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm teaching them now, because I can't keep saying, when are you gonna move? I mean, that's.
So Dan, if I say I'm never moving, I'm gonna die here, and you do the obituary joke,
Yep.
versus the person that you know is gonna sell next year, do you still knock those people with the same frequency?
So I have 25 business cards in my pocket before I leave. I basically, like today, I had 200 flyers and 25 business cards. The business cards are how many conversations I have to have. The 200 are how many I need to give out. So I'll canvas. By this point, I kind of know who I need to touch. If there's a dumpster in someone's yard, I'm definitely talking to that person. If that house is falling apart over there, I'll definitely talk to that person. You always need to find the mayor in your neighborhood. Everyone's got the guy that sits outside and knows everything about everybody. So I'm looking for that guy. I find him all the time, because I mean, nobody works anymore, so everyone's at home. So I constantly, 9 to 11, like 9 to 11 is when I go. I mean, I can't tell you how many realtors answer the door and be like, Dan, like, what are you doing in your pajamas?
But when you know they're not gonna sell for a long time,
Yep.
or they are gonna sell, are you still knocking them?
Yep. So but I only touch them like 4 times a year. I'll only knock on, like, okay, I haven't talked to Mr. So-and-so in a long time. Let's give a knock, see how he's doing. Just in this,
Because
again.
plans can change.
Yep, exactly. And they do. People say they're not moving for 2 years, and then suddenly you see a sign in their yard, and 3 months later, you're like, what the hell just happened? Like, so, I mean.
Yeah, what geographical area is this?
Yeah, Lehigh Valley is where I'm at. So, I mean, I have 3 different farms, basically big into West Bethlehem, and then where I live in Center Valley, and then there's another one in Coopersburg. But again, and then I call them like my thousand mini farms, where any listing I get, I'll do a coming soon, I'll knock 100 houses, I'll do the open house, morning, I'll do a quick little flyer canvas, and then from there on out, now that I have money, I do a lot of postcards. Before, I would get my just sold, my just listed, I'd print them, and I'd literally hand them out to the neighborhood, walking them, because I couldn't afford stamps. So now I'm able to do that. So, I mean, these mini farms, I mean, again, a listing goes up in the neighborhood, even in this market, it's like popcorn. One goes up, there's gonna be two or three more. So I was trying to find that extra, 1 or 2. Again, the open houses, if you come in, so where do you live? I'll go right out of the gate, like, which house is yours? Are you a neighbor, or are you looking to buy? They'll tell you which house it is. So, I carry a little thing in my back pocket, a little notebook, so if I talk to so-and-so, like, let's go back to farming, not open houses, but yeah, so if I talk to this lady, I'll say, oh, what's your dog's name? And say, oh, you just got your gutters redone, that's nice, okay, so we'll have a nice day, take care, blah, blah, blah. I'll go back, okay, 123 Main Street, her name was Donna, her dog's name was Sniffles, and she just got her gutters replaced. So the next hour, I go back to the office, and that's from like basically 11 to 12, 12 to 1, whatever it is. I'll just, I have a stack of thank you cards, stack of stamps, and my business cards, and I'll just be like, okay, Donna, 123 Main Street, I'll go to the tax records, get her full name correct. It was great talking to you, it was great meeting your dog Sniffles, and it was congratulations on your gutters, they've been terrific. If you ever need anything, here's my business card, boom. And I do 25 of those. Send that out, and so 3 days later they get that. So I mean, they probably totally forgotten about me, but I get something in the mail. I can't tell you how many times a business card I show up, and they have a stack of my flyers that I was dropping on their porches for the last 4 years. So I mean, old ladies always like to give me every one of my things have a little coupon for free market analysis, the coupon things, and I go, tell you what your value is for free of charge. Well, they will cut it out and like hand it to me. I'm like, how's this a way for me to get in your house? So, I mean, so again, like I'm never, like, I've taught this class a lot, and like people will come up to me like a year or two later, like, well, what's your approach? Like, there's people that will come up with a clipboard. And what's your favorite thing about living in this neighborhood? And when did you move here? And that person, he's doing great. He sells about 40 houses a year, and that's his way of door knocking. That's just not my approach. Database is huge. Took a long time for me to get rid of my Post-its and get rid of my books with everyone's address and who they are and what they are, but everything's in command. That's another thing that happens. Like, I'll be able to go in there and be like, okay, yeah, this person, 2016, talk to them, 2018, I was in their house, 2020, like, so, but the big thing is also, like, you need to be vested in the community. They need to know, because those are the things you can put on your flyer. I'm on every back of every sports team, whether it's softball, soccer, baseball, I'm in the local ice cream shop, I'll sponsor every PTA thing, a new listing, I'll get the mascot from the local elementary school to come and like lay on the couch while I'm doing my walkthrough video, and like, so, like, I'm very family oriented with that, and again, who makes all the decisions? The moms in the family, so I wanna make sure they're happy with me, and like, that's, so I mean, that's, but getting in with PTA moms is big, like, that's just, that's part of my community thing, like, COVID was a big thing for me, because I couldn't door knock, because we couldn't really do anything, I mean, that's the year I sold 123 houses, and I basically, we organized this huge thing where all you can do is send me your address and your information, if you have kids, and we'll have the Kona ice truck, like a big slushy truck, we'll map out a whole thing for the whole day, everyone gets they paid for their own snow cones, all we did was just organize the itinerary, so I mean, it was a free, and like, it was like 150 houses in our farm, like, did all this thing. Another one was, like, we'll bring the pumpkin patch to you, we got a big flatbed, and just give me your address and information, again, contact information from my database, like, this, I'm gathering all this stuff, and, we'll give you a time frame of when to be outside, and we'll throw a pumpkin off the thing
I
for
was
you.
gonna ask that, so obviously with your system, you have their home address and their names.
Correct.
But how do you try to fill in the gaps with the phone number and the email address?
Yes, eventually, it's a long-term thing. Eventually, it's like, hey, what's your email address? Because we're just talking about that house across the street that sold. Like, what's your email? I'll send it over to you when I get done here, and then I'll get their email address. And bidverified.com is, I pay every month for that. That's I think the best one for expires and everything else to find if you're doing your detective work, to get actual information on family members and everything else when you're doing that kind of stuff. But that's good for me. But again, they ask how you do it. I'm like, how did you even get my number? I'm like, well, I'm a realtor and I have my ways. And again, I kind of like, I keep it light. I mean, but there's been, I mean, you can't be afraid of doing this, because I mean, there's been hundreds of times where people have called me, get this shit off my porch, or like they are flipping out that when I put the flyer in the door, it blew off, or I woke a baby up or a dog up, and like, I'm genuinely sorry about that, but there's lots of times where I had to go back to that house, and it's pouring rain, I have to like scrape this thing off the porch, like I'm 37 years old, and like picking this crap up, like, well, I'm such a loser, like all that self-talk still goes in. I mean, still every day, even this morning, I was just like, I feel like a traveling vacuum. Here I am, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm door knocking. What did I do to my life? Blah, 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 blah. All that stuff it's still in my head. Like, but then like, once I get to like house 10, house 14, I'm like, I'm making for the doctor, screw this. Like, so I mean, like, I'm a wacko. But again, like I said, I've taught this class hundreds of times, and like, there's only a handful of people that do this consistently. Because you have to touch them monthly. If you're starting a farm, first, pick a farm that's, I always say, close to a school, close to a park, somewhere where, in a crappy market that I was in 2012, that houses were still gonna move no matter what market you're in. Right now, everything's going, but that's gonna change at some point. And if you're doing this now, which is now is a great time to start your farm, by the way, November, December, January, February, by the time you get to March, when people are listing their houses, you're gonna touch these people 5, 6, 70, I mean, I'm saying right now to start your farm, you hit them twice, basically once every 2 weeks. That's the formula that works for me. Once every 2 weeks for 6 months, then you can kind of back it off. By that time you have listings and you got your billboards up in the neighborhood anyway, and you can go back to once a month because they're getting just sold and just listed from you anyways. But yeah, so the houses need to be close together. They need to be in a neighborhood that's gonna turn. So if you're in I always say, like, the turnover rate needs to be, if you're in a subdivision of it's like 200 houses, there needs to be at least 12 homes selling every year. You're not gonna sell 12 homes, you're not gonna get those. But if you're going through, like, for me, I'm getting 8 out of 10 homes in my farm right now. Like, that's awesome. Like that, so, and no one's even challenging my farms anymore. It's like, that's nothing. If you go in the MLS and you see, okay, I found a farm I like, this is the neighborhood I can invest myself in, there's 200 homes, boom, everything's working, but you see listing agent Dan Witt, listing agent Dan Witt, listing agent Dan Witt, listing agent. I'm not saying don't go into that farm, but there's other neighborhoods that are selling at 12. You're just have to spend more time, more money, and more effort taking those from me or someone else that has a stronghold for whatever reason, whether they live in that neighborhood, you know, realtors like take over that. That's the first thing you do is you take over your own neighborhood. That's just me personally. Like, I remember when I got my first license, and right across the street, like the next day, there was this like Wykert sign went up, like right across, my neighbor, right across the street, Wykert, and I'm just like, every night, like 2 in the morning, I was gonna go like rip it out of the ground and throw it in the street. But again, that just like fired me up to like, just to like, take over my own neighborhood, because, and that's an easy conversation to have. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, my name's Dan Witt, I actually live 3 houses down, just wanna let you know that I'm in real estate, and if you ever need anything, or your family members, I'm here. That's all I gotta say. So that, like, yeah, it's the long-term game where then you start asking, well, when did you move here? Okay, well, the next time through, hi, how are you? Yeah, it's Dan again. So when are you moving? Like, and they'll just, I mean, it's a joke, I mean, but they'll tell you, they will answer your questions. It took a long time for me to actually ask those questions. I was always just like too scared or timid or whatever to start asking the tough questions, like, who else do you know? Do you know any of the neighbors that are moving? Like what do you know about, they're getting their windows fixed, are they thinking about selling, have you heard anything? And the neighbors telling each other all the time, and like I said, nobody works anymore, so everyone's at home, and like, you just gotta find that mayor that will tell you everything too, and I mean, your mailman's not supposed to tell you anything, but I take care of my mail lady, and all the mailmen in my farm too. They get Christmas gifts and all sorts of stuff, and they'll let me know. Trudy and Dennis are having a lot of arguments. May want to go. Yeah, so I mean, people tell on each other.
So Dan, how do you, when you're doing this, how do you stay efficient without coming off rude as you're trying to maybe do 100 houses in this amount of time?
I always, this is my canned speech, so it's like, okay, this guy's going on and on and on about everything, he's never gonna move, he's just yakking my ear off, I'm sweating, it's July, I'm dying, I'm like, listen, I can't eat lunch, my wife won't let me in the house until these are gone, so I gotta get moving, and that's always my way out, but that's what I say every single time. So. Or like, yeah, that's honestly what I say every time, but yeah.
I'm just gonna support what you're saying, because I did my first door knocking experience for buyers that wanted a neighborhood. It wasn't one that I farmed, but you know, in 100-degree weather, I'm getting a sunburn, and I found a listing. I found a home for them to buy.
Yep.
And we just settled last week, and that was a door knocking experience where I'm saying, I have a buyer for your house. I mean, a little different, but I'm like, wow, because I did find out a lot of information, and there are the mayors, and people want to tell you about everybody.
Yep.
It was just fascinating.
Yeah, there's a script
I'm
out
sold
there.
on it, I really am. I think it's
If you buyers that lost out in a neighborhood, you take their contract, black out their name or whatever, this is a script that Bull or whoever, I forget where I learned it from, but you literally just go in that neighborhood and be like, listen, my buyer just lost out in this house, look how much they're offering, are you thinking of moving? Like literally just, and that's an easy conversation. If they say no, or not for a while, then again, database and boom, right away, try to get as much information as
Well,
you
even if
can.
it's not your buyer or your seller, like even like a listing in the office you heard had 9 offers, you'd be like, hey, I don't know if you heard, but the house down the street had 9 offers, it means there's 8 more families still looking for a home in your neighborhood.
I constantly have newer agents in my office asking, because I have a lot of listings that go sale pending, and I'm like, can you give me some like, it's up in an area I'm never gonna go to again, or whatever the case is, or it doesn't care. I'm like, listen, it was 7 offers, this is what won, go get them, like, and so, and that's, it just gives them firepower. Failures, don't have commission breath, don't come off like you're strictly looking for the sale. I mean, I went into a neighborhood that, so in 2013, 2014, my office was having like a short sale competition. So I found a neighborhood that was like a half hour away from me. I never go over there. I just know that they were built in 2007. The entire neighborhood was underwater, and they were hurting. And I called myself a short sale expert. Never did one in my life at that point. And I went in there. And again, so I already had my other farms working. Okay, so and this place was called the Hills of Lockridge. Okay, the Hills of Lockridge in July. So I go to a place I don't know, don't really care about. I'm going there because I want fast commission money. Don't put anything into the schools or community or anything. I show up there. I don't go there every month because I hit all my other farms first, and if I have time, I get to that one. So I was only touching them maybe 4, 5, 6 times a year. I did that farm for 2 years, made a ton of enemies, didn't get a single sale, and it was the hills of Lockridge, the houses are a mile apart, it's on a hill, I'm sweating, I didn't even wanna be there to begin with, like, so it was just like, it was like, what am I doing? Like, so you need to care about your neighborhood, you need to be, I mean, what does Gary Keller say? Be your neighborhood expert. Like, my goal is, which has happened now, like, take over a school district, take over a zip code, take over a neighborhood. Then you get to work where you wanna work, you know every house, you don't need to, when you go on a CMA for that neighborhood, you can be like, yeah, I just sold 1, 2, 3, 4 of those houses, I already know what yours is worth, I already have a Rolodex of people, like, you're getting that listing. And it's 5 minutes from my house, which is awesome, like, I don't need to even travel and go out of your way, so, I mean, those are the bonuses of a farm. Plus, I mean, it's so much better than going up against 3, 4 agents every single listing, and like, you get half of them, or whatever the case is. If they see you every month, even if you haven't gotten any listings, when you project that you're the neighborhood expert and they're seeing stuff on their porch every single other week for 6, 7, 8 months, 2 years, 12 years for me, like, they just assume that I know what I'm doing, which is awesome, because when I first got started, I didn't know anything. I would be like, oh my God, if they're calling me again, I don't know anything. I didn't know, like, they're like, okay, is that a water heater? Like, I was totally clueless, totally clueless. So I don't know how I got that business, I swear I don't, I swear, I had no idea what I was doing. But again, that's why you're at KW, you got the support, you come back, you're like, I'm freaking out, I got a listing. I'm like, okay. Let me think what else. I've had, I mean, in the winter months, it's rough. I mean, there was a time when I told the story before, I just got out of the car, I had like 150 of my things in my hands, and I was walking up to the first house, there was this little steep incline, and whoosh, ice hit me, things go flying everywhere. I look up and I see the blinds quick go like this. They saw me do the whole thing, so I like pick up the whole thing. I'm like, well, I'm going to this porch now. And I like climb up, I didn't knock it, I was too embarrassed. I just put it in the thing. Like a week later, there's a freaking for sale sign up. They were selling.
Oh my God.
That killed me.
Can you touch on a little bit more about like what you say at the door, what they usually say, or a couple scenarios,
Yeah,
and then
right
what you
now
say
it's-
next?
Yeah, right now, it's a lot about, like, again, everyone's kind of, like, they feel like they're on the pause button with it, and I'll validate them with the pause button with the election, and you're like, I won't side either way, I just kind of, I mean, you can tell pretty quick who's on what side, or whatever the case is, but, more for the crooked way, but, no, right now, it's just, like, I feel my farms do well because I give them the confidence to go on the market. Like, I'm constantly like, I bring them the good news of the world. And I give them the confidence to let them know about the market. And you need to know your numbers. Like, whether it's just 5 minutes of an article that you read or something, just have a little script for that day to go out with. That's really about it. A lot of people like for new farms, it's easier because, hey, yeah, these 3 homes just went on the market. Did you know that they both all sold for this, and your neighborhood's currently getting 104% of asking price, and they're selling in 6 days? Like, that's pretty powerful stuff that they don't know about. All they're hearing about is interest rates and whatever else is going on, and the shortage. And so, I mean, for me, I basically just tell them what's going on what's actually going on. And people are asking about commissions and do I have to pay a buyer's agent? And I'm like, listen, Pennsylvania has always had a listing contract that was better than most states. So it clearly, and I would give them the 2-minute speech about how, like, where on our listing contract it says that where we pay the buyer's agent how much. I said there's other states where it would simply say what the listing agent is getting paid, and then no one knew what the buyer's agent was getting, and it clears the air with them. Like, oh, okay. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm still preaching pay the buyer's agent, but that's just anyway. What else?
How do you get over the fear of walking up to the door and having to deal with like rejection or like the people who don't want to talk whatsoever?
Yeah, the people that tell me to get off their porch, never
Yeah.
come back. I give them a few months. And then I'll go up and put a thing in their door and run away again, and then like I'll see them again. Like, these people are just having a bad day mostly. Like, I think that's half the battle. But I mean, every single day, people will tell me, not interested, I don't want one, get off my porch.
I'm sure you have examples of that, and that have later called you, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 100%, yes, and there's, I mean, and then there's the flip side of that, where like, I'm getting invited in for coffee, and I'm taking a tour, I'm getting to do a CMA on the spot, like, so anytime that anyone wants to do that, I'll stop what I'm doing, and I will take care of that. And again, for time blocking, I try to keep it from 9 to 11, but if I have a closing at 9, I mean, I always try to get them pushed out a little later, just because to keep my schedule straight, but if you, whatever you erase on your calendar, you just gotta replace it, you gotta stick to that. I mean, for me, I farm 15 to 20 hours a week, do about 10 hours of follow-up, and the rest is for appointments. I'm home by 3 o'clock to get my kids, I coach softball every night at 5, I'm at tournaments every weekend, like, so I have crew, like, I'm seriously, literally working 9 to 3, and then answering the phone the rest of the time, and that's it. Like, my appointments are not at night, if they absolutely have to, then I'll make an exception, but I can probably count on one hand the last time I've worked an evening, in the last couple of years. Like, I've really designed this to have, and I just set expectations.
So how do you handle that? Like, hey, my wife doesn't get off work till 5, I get off at 5:30, we have to meet at 6 or after, Dan.
And they're like, I was like, are you sure you can't do it, can we do this on the weekend? Are you sure we can't do this next Monday, or whatever the case is? I'll give them other options, but obviously, if the listing, I'm gonna make it, but people, again, nobody works there, there's always one person, or whatever the case is, but that's another thing, if you're doing a CMA, try to get everyone, all the decision makers there at once. I want them both to meet me, when I walk through and charm the pants off the husband, I gotta make sure the wife's charmed too, and that's just part of it. You don't wanna be doing a CMA twice, you don't wanna have the wife bringing in their agent, and then the husband bringing in his agent, and you wanna make sure you're in front. But, the big thing is just being invested in the community, being in the Halloween, this year is like the first year we weren't in the Halloween parade, but like being in the Halloween parade with a float, like the little stuff, and then like, again, like t-shirts cost $100 to get your name on the back. Like being sponsoring a tournament team, or being in the ice cream shop with a banner, and being in the outfield fences with the billboard, or like the Halloween, like everything's like $200 here or there, like all over the place. Like, this stuff is not expensive. My biggest expense every year is printing ink and paper, and gas, like that's it. I've never paid for a Zillow, we've never paid for Realtor.com. Like, I am totally, we have a lean, we barely, thank you cards and stamps and a lot of hustle. And I mean, now I'm back off the farms to the point where a lot of people know me right now, like in my farms. I've touched the same 3,000 people for the last 8, 10, 12 years. So now it's a just sold, now it's a just listed, but as long as I'm touching them every month with a market report or something else, I have a lot of emails in my database now, so they see me enough, and social media's been good to me, so I get a good following on there too. But I don't come off as someone that can go down to Philly and sell a house. Like, I stay where I know, and people understand that. Any questions?
How do you know if the neighborhood's already being farmed? Like, what's the best way to find out? Like,
If you're touching your neighborhood the way you're supposed to, you're gonna find other people's postcards on their door. You're gonna find something in the mail. You're gonna see their stuff in the bushes. And so, I mean, I'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna say if I shake theirs or not.
Last time you talked about, you don't care if somebody else is farming.
Oh, yeah, no, that's because no one will keep up the way I keep up. So if I see, free market evaluation, I'll put mine in the door right on top of it, and then 2 weeks later, put another one in. And then, because that person will do it once, see that it fails, and never do it again. And that's how most realtors act. So
That's consistency.
yeah, that's it. Again, that's it. Go to Wawa, stay not there for 2 hours a day. You might get arrested for soliciting. But again, HOA communities, you gotta be careful with. Again, there are so many neighborhoods. Don't waste your time with getting a solicitor's permit for $200 or trying to sneak around an HOA. Just go to a different neighborhood. There's hundreds of neighborhoods. You're like, don't waste your time. Like, again, I got all sorts of letters from all different HOAs, and because I was doing, like, I'll go out and I don't care, let's do a quick just listed in this, because there's 400 houses, like, I can do this in an hour and just canvass it real fast. Sure enough, I hit the HOA president's house and I get in trouble, but I've been fined, I've been screamed at, my broker gets a call on me about once a month, saying, this guy's on my porch, I've been on the ring, I've been on the community sites, who is this guy putting stuff? And I'm just like, hello, it's me. But then I feel so good because I'll have 40 people, oh, that's Dan, he's awesome, he's been in my house, and then it shuts that lady up that was flipping out about who I was scaring somebody. But you can't, I mean, the times that have changed from 2012 when I started this to now. So, I mean, I've been chased off porches for my dogs and all sorts of crazy stuff, but you can't be afraid of those 1 in 1,000 instances because all the rest are positive, they really are. And I always say, if you're hitting those 100 houses and there's 2 houses up at that cul-de-sac that you just don't wanna get, I'm telling you, those are the 2 that are gonna sell. Hit those, you're already outside, go get them. I would say burn your boats, like I always have a full change of clothes in my car. I know where every local bathroom is. I pack a lunch. I mean, cause I am as lazy as anyone. I promise you I'm as lazy as anyone. If it's in the June, July, August months or January, and I get that mentality, and I'm like, oh, I do gotta go to the bathroom. Like I'll just quick run home. And I get home, start petting the dog, and Phillies are on at 1, and I'm like, all right, forget this. Like, and I'll be like, oh, I already hit 50 houses, that's 50 more than you'll ever do. So I validate myself, and then that's the end of it. So, I mean, if I got my 25 in my pocket, my 200 in my hand, like, and I'm sweating, I'll be changing my clothes in the car, because I look like a sweaty mess, and like, I will not go, you have to be committed to this, and it pays off, I'm telling you, like, it pays off. I don't know, I've done this class a million times, and like, there's only a handful of people that will stick with you and consistently do this, like, over and over again. I hope you do if you're interested in this, and.
So if
Not-
you knock on a door and they're renters.
Okay, that's an easy conversation too, so like, here's my lender's information.
Somebody else's mortgage?
Yeah, you thinking, you wanna stay in the area, like, what price range, like, what, you wanna stay in this neighborhood, what do you, like, start asking questions, like, listen, here's my, can I get your information? I always ask their information first. If they don't care, like, listen, all right, here's my lender, Tim, here's his information. Hey, it takes a 10-minute conversation just to see, hey, could you even qualify? And then I always make up a story about my sister, say, listen, sure, credit score was 500, and he had it fixed up, I give them a message of hope again, and then they're off to, then, like, you never know. I mean, I wasted a lot of time going to apartment complexes and looking for buyers. What does the red book say? Go after listings. So I would do apartment complexes. This is again my personal opinion and my personal experiences. And like home buyers, like seminar and all this stuff. It was just a massive, catastrophic waste of time for me. For me, it was because one, I get chased off by the property manager because I'm trying to get their tenants out of their building, basically, and nobody would show up, and it was just a lot of, again, and what was I doing? I should be looking for listings. The buyers come to you anyways if you have the listings. So that's where I spend all my time, is at going after listings. That's another reason why I don't bother with Zillow or Trulia or any of those paid sites, because those are all buyers, most of them are buyer leads, like if anything, go after what are the ones out there, like where you pay at closing, those are the ones I feel would be the best. Because one, a lot of them are sellers, you're paying a referral fee, but in this market, listing's a listing.
Like a home light.
Yeah, home light, Fast Expert, good one, but yeah. Any other questions? I feel like I'm leaving a lot out. Yes.
I have one about like whether you printed out the flyers or like the traditional door hangers.
Yep, no, I never used, I tried the door hangers, they fly off, those are the ones that I get called, go pick this stuff up out of my bushes in my front yard, because they fly off all the time. Like, so I always do everything the night before, so, again, if I am getting the kids ready for school and off and running in the morning, I need to be boots on the ground, door knocking at 9 o'clock, not sitting there during business hours, folding paper in half and printing stuff. So that's the stuff I do at night with my computer on my lap while I'm watching TV or whatever's going on. So I can't tell you how many when I first got started. Again, we're entrepreneurs, blood, sweat, tears. It's 2 in the morning, I'm stuffing envelopes, I gotta get these out tomorrow. And like that stuff, you have to go. You're running your own business. You have to do the hours to make this, to get to the other side. But again, if I do this in the next day, if I'm folding flyers during business hours, or if I'm like stuffing envelopes or stamps at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's a huge waste of time. Do that at night, or in the off hours. when
Teach
you-
your
when
kids
you-
how to
when you
help
can't-
you.
Oh, yeah, that's why I have 4 kids, if I tell people that's why I have them.
Family night, let's talk about this while we're
They're
stepping our looks.
they're never gonna be realtors, they hate me. They've stamped thousands of calls.
So if somebody here wants to get into this, we look for a neighborhood that has 6% turnover, it sounds like.
Yep.
What size neighborhood, how many times do you need to knock, how often before you should start seeing results, like that?
The red book says 18 months, I was seeing things immediately, new farm, again, it's the crazy market, you might pick someone off right away, but you've gotta stick with it for 18 months, and you have to do it for 18 months. Once I started seeing success, I was able to back off to like 6 times a year, because they were already seeing just solds come through and things like that, but, and when you start, you gotta, and again, you gotta make sure no one else I mean, you're gonna have a realtor in that neighborhood. Once you start realizing, you just skip that house. Once you know that that's Shirley from Remax, you just go to the next house, like, but, cause there's lots of times where I've been giving up my stuff for 3 years, and then like I see them at a closing, I'm like, damn, I get your flyers every month. I'm like, oh, shit. Then I gotta find them in the tax records and make sure I never touch them again. But, yeah, so you wanna be in an area that you're gonna be able to handle. Like, if you have 0 business and you can handle 1,000 houses a month, then go get it. But if you know, like, again, when I have like 30 listings going live and I'm running around with softball in the spring and I got everyone in my family in sports, like, how am I gonna hit 3,000 houses and be consistently be able to do that? There's lots of times where I've started farms and then had to give that farm up because I just wasn't hitting it consistently. If you're not doing it consistently, you're wasting your time. Like, you have to own.
What is consistent in the beginning?
And again, it's two times a month. 2 times a month from now till spring is
Same house
what I'm.
twice a month.
Yeah, and then they will see, they will know. You might think you're harassing them, you're not. Okay, until your broker starts getting calls, you're not doing it enough. Okay? And what my broker says, he's like, I wish everyone was hitting the streets as hard as Dan is. Like, that then shuts them up. And again, like, so, once you get to March, I promise you, you will start getting listings at that point, and then you can back off to that month, and then you're busy, and then you're in momentum, and things are kind of happening out. But you don't wanna, the houses need to be kind of closer together, because again, you gotta think about your February months, you gotta think about your July months, and those are the tough months. Right now, it's the best month ever to farm. I love right now. It's easy conversations, it's cool weather.
People are out raking the leaves.
Exactly, yeah. And again, if you wanna farm on a Saturday morning, that's good stuff. If you wanna farm 4 to 6, you can do that too. In my life, what works for me, 9 to 11 works for me. That's just the time I talk to, everyone's home, like 4 to 6, I just feel like it's family time, people they wanna get rid of you anyways, like, so. And again, these are all just my own personal experiences, my own self-talk too. So, I mean, there's 1,000 ways to farm. This is just the way I do it. Yeah.
I have a lady that's actually moving into my hometown that lives up in that area, and I was texting her, I said, hey, what's the name of the guy that you talked to, blah, blah, blah. And then I said that she has a realtor already. And then I said, I've got a guy here in my office, he's talking about that area. She said, oh yeah, she said, I talked to that guy, nice guy. I talked to him several times when he was out delivering cards.
Yeah, see that?
I'm trying to get you a listing up there, she's a nice
Who is it?
lady.
Nah.
Oh,
That's where I live.
That hurt.
I live in Oakhurst.
I'll work on her for you.
Bad
I don't know if she's committed to the other realtor yet, but.
Alright. Cry myself to sleep tonight now. Now I have to find out every house.
I'll work on it.
He was just mentioning self-talk, now we.
Yep, I know.
Self-talk.
It never gets easier. Yes.
Was that your bold 25 business cards and 200 flyers?
That's just what I found out was manageable. I took the 25 from Bold, 20 conversations a day, I just upped it to 25. And that's just, I took it from Bold. Like, if you have 20 conversations a day, you're gonna be a millionaire in this business, and that's
New conversation.
yeah, 20, and face to face, not just, hey,
Corner
Facebook,
of
happy birthday Facebook message, like, yeah. But I tried to get away with it, and that didn't work for years, so.
Corner of Hawthorne and Juniper. Ask him if he played soccer for Southern Lehigh.
Hawthorne Juniper.
He's gonna have a tent there
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find it. I gotta go at 3 o'clock today.
Never told him my name when we talked. It's Loretta. Go say hi.
She's one of the parties.
She's,
Lots of clues
I'm
to
all over
go.
her. I know. Somebody writing this down for me.
Yeah.
Where's my book?
He wants a phone number
So when
right
you
now.
started initially, how many door knocking you started with?
It was, it was 3 to 500, like I started at 300 and then I got those 8 listings, I was like, holy crap, I'm buried. I had to like stop everything I was doing just to handle that business again. And then I got myself by like September and I was back up to like 500, which is basically, so I took over my neighborhood, which was like the price range of like 200 to 300. And then the next neighborhood over, which was like the 400 to 600 kind of price range. So I did those 2 neighborhoods. Then I started another one, which is where I grew up, like, which is a school district where we eventually moved to, suddenly where she's talking about.
I'm sure if you let your foot off the gas like that when you get busy or vacation or life gets in the way, you probably see ebbs and flows of your
Big
business.
time, yep, and those are successes and failures that I'm talking about, like, if I decide to not work in December or in January, like, suddenly I didn't have a strong spring, because I was lazy in the winter, like, that'll cost you, like, you gotta be a little on the rock about this, like, I fear that, like, I'm gonna lose a listing in my neighborhood. But, I mean, and again, my wife will always calm me down, like, Dan, people were in real estate before you, and people know people in real estate that aren't you, and Dan, not everyone's gonna love you. I'm just like, dagger. But it's true, like, you're not gonna get, but if you're doing what you're doing, like, I can let that go, because I have 24 more pieces of business that's gonna be in my pipeline listings by like saying the listing in the spring.
Have you had success like pairing that future listing with today's buyers, saying, hey,
Yeah.
I have a house coming in the spring, let me see if they would let you walk through early?
I have a ton of dual agencies, and now this is actually getting even better.
Now you're getting
with the
greedy.
way things are going right now, with how things like the buyer agent, like I'm even like I'm making out with that. Like, so, I've been waiting for something to break with this, and I'm glad. I take advantage of everything, but it's just you have to script. Like, I don't have a script partner right now, but for years it was 8 to 8:15. All it was like, hey, how are you? Great, how are you? All right, today I'm going to be calling expires, and it was like, okay, go. And he would do his expires, and then it was actually the pro coach for the out-of-town office. And then I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna do door knocking, and he'll be like, all right, I'll go knock, 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 and they're like, all right, and then we'll just do our 15 minutes, like, all right, I'm gonna see you in an hour, bye, and that was it. And that was our day, but he would give me, get off my porch, he would give me, I'm never selling, he would give me, I have something like my wife and I are getting a divorce, it's like all, you practice and fail with your script partner from 8 to 8:15, like, and then you don't have to fail in front of your person, that's huge. I recommend a script partner, and even if it's 3 times a week, that's an hour's worth of failing, and then that you don't look in front of somebody else.
What street do you live on? I'm working on getting you this listing.
Long corner of Laurel and Hawthorne.
Hopefully your lawn's mowed, looks good.
I'm real to the coaches, my yard looks like shit.
She's on Hawthorne, so.
I know where she's at.
I got his number.
I'm working on it. She's a nice lady.
Alright, Loretta, I'll find you.
And obviously, Dan, you service the greater Allentown area essentially, right? So if you have any buyers or sellers out that way, obviously he's a good partner. He'll be happy to partner with you on referral, right? You would tend to keep 25% of the deal. He would service it, you just hand them off, and he takes good care of them.
Yep, I've already had a few from Adrian, in this office. Yep, good stuff. Yep. So, start your farms up. You can get 12 touches in by spring.
There you go. All right, any other questions for Dan? All right, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.